What happens to our children? They grow up, and next thing we know, they're adults and they're out on their own, and then you don't see them as much as you used to, and your relationship changes. And it's going to change. But what I'm trying to say is like when they're young, you're with them every day. You're watching them grow. You're watching all the milestones that they reach and all the new things that they do. You know, the first time they turn over, the first time they sit up, the first time they take their first step, their first day of school, you know, even their first bath, um, their first overnight stay at maybe a relative's, um, you know, that kind of thing. The first time you took them on the bus, the first time you took them shopping, the first time you took them shopping for their first pair of shoes, their first Christmas, their first birthday, first everything's, right? And then next thing we know, like I said, they're at school, then they're going from primary school into middle school, grade 7 and 8, and then we have high school, grades 9 through 12, and then you look back and realize how much time they spent in school. And knowing what I know about school now, I definitely would have homeschooled my son for sure. I think he would have got a better education being home with me because I know for myself, I probably learned more out of school than I ever did in school. I've learned more in my older years than I ever did in my younger years. I might have learned some harsh lessons when I was young, but when it comes to school, I didn't really learn anything that was of any value now. I mean, of course, you learn to read and write and spell words, and you learn how to use them in sentences and that kind of thing. Of course, you know, your basics, your basic math and English, and that's really all you need because everything in your life is basically that. Just your language and the ability to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers, right? It's words and numbers. But the aspects of parenting that where you give so much of that time away to giving the schools all that time with your child, and they get to mold them and groom them into, I shouldn't say groom, condition them into who they are becoming. And then that gets based on the fact that they're in a room full of other children, and they don't get to spend, you know, one-on-one time with your child. And you can't expect them to because it's school. They have a lot of pupils that they have to teach. So, but you know, and then they leave home, and sometimes you don't, as a parent, you don't give them the necessary skills, maybe like the life skills that they need to learn, so that when they do leave home, they're going to be you know, they're going to be self sufficient, like teaching them how to cook and teaching them how to clean properly and teaching them how to budget and teaching them how to you know, balance their budgets, and um, you can help them, you know, put together a budget and put together some aspects of their life going forward, like, you know, long range plans and their hopes and dreams and ideals and what they want to do with their lives, and how you can help them structure that. And yeah, and I guess the first thing, going back is also structure, right? And when you're a parent for the first time and you've never done it before and you never really had proper role models yourself to identify with, you're kind of winging it as a parent, and you're kind of growing up with your child. Even though you might be older by the time you have a child. In my case, I was 32 when I had my son. But because I wasn't a parent before and I had never really had any role models to model that after, you know, um, I was growing with my son as I was parenting him. And so, I mean, I did a lot of things very, very well. I did a lot of things that were right for him. And I think there was also things, though, that I did that, I really should have spent more time teaching him about before I let him leave home. But at that point, it's not a matter of letting them, it's a matter of they want to. They want to leave home. Not every child does at 18, but a lot of children do. And you can't stop it, so you have to let them go. But yeah, it's hard to face that when you get blamed down the road for the way they didn't have those skills taught to them, and it was your fault, and you should have done better. And yeah, we all could have done better. I know that I could have done better. I could have done a lot better, and I'm sorry that I didn't. And I've made that very clear to my son on more than one occasion. Like, I'm sorry that I made mistakes along the way, and I'm sorry that I didn't decide to do this, and that I did decide to do this thing, and no, I'm sorry that I let you go to that thing, and I'm sorry that it didn't stop you from going to that other thing. So, um, but we're human beings. We're parents, but we're also human, and humans make mistakes. We don't always get it right, unfortunately. And we weren't always parented the right way. Like I said, like we don't have role models because our parents were maybe a little dysfunctional in the way that they parented us. So, and maybe that they learned that from their parents, and it's just like a generational thing that you do try to break it eventually, but sometimes your kids are already grown up before you realize that, you know what mistakes you made, and you don't get you don't get a chance to do that over again, unfortunately. And all you can do is say sorry about it. um I don't believe that you should have to say sorry every time you talk to them. I used to think that. I used to think that every time I would have a conversation with my son, I would have to tell him how sorry I was about not doing this or doing this or that. And I thought, am I supposed to do this every single time we talk? I don't know what I mean. Nobody told me that I had to do that. I just felt so guilty that I had made so many mistakes and I didn't do certain things right. But I think I did do a lot right now that I look back. My son is a very kind and considerate young man, and he cares about people. He's genuine, he's sweet, he's lovable, he's loving. He would give you the shirt off his back. So he has a lot of very endearing qualities that I wouldn't change for the world. And I'm not going to take all the credit for it, but I mean, it was him and I, and he only had me to refer to. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit there where credit's due, and say that, you know, yes, I made mistakes, but I also did a lot right too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.